Alright, this video is on people's bias. Some people are very anti-homeless. They hate the homeless with a passion. They listen to their granddaddy's rhetoric about how they're homeless because they choose to be. They don't understand that most of us ended up homeless because of abuse, because of having nobody in our corner, because of having no money to take people to court when they rip us off or steal from us. There was a woman here at the Starbucks, and she is trained like most Starbucks people are. They're taught to treat us like human beings. However, she still holds the sentiment, so she probes to try to find something that she can use to try to, well, kick you out like you're being some sort of terrible person. Now, yesterday I was informed that smoking is not allowed here within 100 feet of the door or window of the business. So I started smoking across the street. Or in my vehicle. Now, there was another homeless gentleman today, and he wanted to light a cigarette right outside of the door. So I informed him that you had to be at least 100 feet away from the door, and I paced it off with him so that we knew about where 100 feet was. So, this woman who works here at Starbucks, she comes up to us in the Starbucks, and she's got this piece of paper where she has taken the time to specifically mark out the part about the smoking, so on and so forth. And I was explaining to her that I was just letting the gentleman know because she was very in my face, smiling, of course, because it's her job to be pleasant about it. But she's, trying to point out to me this piece of paper, being very pushy about it. And well, I heard her yesterday. I didn't need her to come back and explain this to me, but I was pleasant and I was kind about it. And I had explained that I was showing him where 100 feet was, and she said something about how a lady and her kids were walking by. There was no lady or her kids walking by. There was no lady or her kids anywhere near. When he lit that cigarette, we were already about 15, 20 feet away from the door. So it's not like we were right at the door. And as soon as I said something, we walked over immediately. There was no woman with her kids. Now, this is not an issue at this point, but it probably will become an issue. This woman is going to try to push it, and if she's willing to lie about a scenario that I was literally there for, then I would not put it past her to lie again in that same scenario. Now, the reason that I say that it's an anti-hobo thing is because this woman in specific, there are 3 other homeless people that she had done probing with before as well. Mostly minor stuff. I mean, literally, me with the cigarettes is probably the most severe offense out of all of it. And she's trying to, with at least one of those people, try to completely twist the rules around to mean something that they don't. She just doesn't like homeless people. Well, that's fine. She can have her sentiment. I will continue to smoke off the property. And just to avoid complications, I will pack up my stuff when I go to have a cigarette. Now, that's the kind of stuff that you really have to do as a homeless person. You have to anticipate people's motives, be aware of the situation, and recognize that not every smile is genuine. Some people will just hate you to hate you. Now, this other gentleman, I believe he might be a tweaker, but he didn't verify that. He didn't tell me he was a tweaker. He just picks holes in his face. It's kind of gross. So there's that. Meth, like I said, it's everywhere. You just can't get away from it anymore. It's either alcoholics or meth heads or people who are holier than thou. It's lovely. Everybody's a sinner. They all complain about everybody else being a sinner, and then they get pissed off when they get pointed out that they too are sinners. The Christians, I have noticed, are the worst group about this. Now, why is it that I pick on Christians so much? Because Jesus wasn't like that. Jesus was a good man. There's a lot of stuff that we have to deal with as homeless people that you guys probably don't think about. When I have to deal with someone who's never actually been homeless, never actually been hunted by the police just for needing to sleep, just for not having money, it's a very complicated thing for me. That's the Starbucks folks. They're going home for the night. As far as speaking out against the police, there's a reason I do it. It's because it's common policy. Instead of doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do and looking at both sides, cops refuse to take a report from a homeless person, making every excuse that they can not to. Internal Affairs, again, refuses to do so. There are multiple people who have attempted, as homeless people, to get protection orders against the police who assaulted them. One of the officers who assaulted me has assaulted at least 6 individuals since. That's Officer Waylon Lolatai. And the officer who is supposed to have been the investigator in Natalie's case, who was transferred to Boulder County in Longmont PD, he assaulted me at the Longmont Hospital, and his name is Officer Burke. And he has had at least 2 people who have attempted to get protection orders against him. So, there's a lot of anti-homeless sentiment out there. The media holds that bias. The general public, as a rule, holds that bias. And the Christian community seems to be the worst about that bias and their hatred towards them and their justification of it. I am personally against going after Christians because of the Christian mentality. I believe that everybody should be judged on an individual basis. However, when we have the majority who believe a certain way, act a certain way, think a certain way, despite what they pretend, you got to understand that sometimes a hungry wolf will have the biggest grin. Wouldn't you if you got your dinner right in front of you? The problem is, Boulder County hires hobo hunters. They hire officers with a history of abuse, with a history of abuse specifically towards homeless people. And they will outright break the law and lie to you repeatedly to try to get you to do something that they can twist into something that's illegal. Fuck the police. When it comes to the military, I am very anti-soldier. But I design a lot of things that are supposed to save soldiers' lives. Why is that? Why is it that I stick up for veterans, but I don't stick up for soldiers? It's because a soldier wants to go out there and shoot people and thinks they know what it's for. But really, they don't know the United States. They know their mommy and daddy's roof. And as soon as they're out from under that roof, they're in the military. Whereas a combat veteran knows a thing or two, has seen a thing or two, and knows a lot of the things that I know. Death is gross. When you see somebody who you knew and loved and they're just a body now, disfigured, discolored, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing as going to a funeral and seeing them all prepared either. Death is gross, and I've lost a lot of people. I also know a lot of combat veterans who are homeless. And a lot of people who think that they're combat veterans who have never seen a battlefield. I'm not a combat veteran, although I am a veteran of the war against the poor. I am poor